It's Thursday, June 16th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with a rundown of the latest local news, including a drug dealer charged following the death of a Monroe woman, a van fire near Wilton High School yesterday, and much more. It's also Front Page Thursday, which means we'll be previewing what is in our HAN Network community newspapers this week, and Rob Adams will have a look at your forecast and a Nutmeg Sports update, and Donald Eng will take a look back on this day in history. But first, a Bridgeport man is facing drug dealing charges in connection with a fatal overdose in Monroe last month. According to U.S. Attorney Deirdre Daly, 24-year-old Daquan Johnson has been arrested on charges of possession with intent to distribute heroin, heroin distribution, and conspiracy to distribute heroin. The charges carry a maximum sentence of 20 years on each count. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, on May 9th, a 30-year-old female was found unresponsive at a home in Monroe. Police and medical personnel responded to the scene and administered multiple doses of Narcan to the victim, but the victim did not respond to the Narcan, was transported to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. While administering aid to the victim, hospital staff located unopened heroin folds on her. The substance within the folds later tested positive for heroin and fentanyl, and the Connecticut office of the medical examiner has determined the victim's cause of death to be acute heroin and fentanyl toxicity. Based on an investigation that has included witness interviews and analysis of calls and text messages to and from the victim's phone, the complaint alleges that the victim ordered heroin from Johnson on the day of her death. He was arrested on June 13th after law enforcement conducted a controlled purchase of heroin from him. And a Stamford man has admitted to a murder-for-hire scheme orchestrated so that he could purchase a local restaurant for a cheaper price. Larry Toledo Torrejon, 29 years old and a citizen of Peru, pleaded guilty Wednesday and faces up to 10 years in jail. Toledo Torrejon signed a contract in December 2015 to purchase a Peruvian restaurant in Stamford for $300,000. He gave the seller of the restaurant cashier's checks worth $150,000 and additional checks totaling $150,000, but were drawn on accounts with insufficient funds. Toledo Torrejon on December 5th directed someone who owed him $5,000 to follow the manager of that restaurant that he was trying to buy to his home in New York and kill him. Then he agreed to wipe out the man's debt and pay him an additional $5,000 for the murder. But the man got cold feet and alerted authorities. And while working with authorities, the man informed Toledo Torrejon that he kidnapped the restaurant owner. The murder plot turned into a sting operation on December 7th when Toledo Torrejon provided the man with 2 receipts falsely saying he had provided the restaurant manager $150,000. He then told the man to make the restaurant owner sign the receipts before killing him. Toledo Torrejon believed the man had been killed and then went to the police station December 8th to report he had been ripped off for $150,000. He was arrested later that day when he paid the would-be hitman $500 when he gave him the receipts signed by the manager. And a cleaning company van caught fire at Wilton High School Wednesday afternoon, but no injuries were reported. Deputy Chief Mark Amatrudo said at the scene that they got a report just before 3 p.m. of a vehicle fire in the area of the rear of the high school. 2 Wilton Fire Department engines and an engine tanker responded, and all 6 Wilton firefighters who had been on duty at the time were dispatched, along with several police units. Amatrudo said the blaze was knocked down in about 10 minutes and no one was hurt. School was not in session at the time because of final exams. The van, which belongs to Stratford-based pressure washing specialist TransClean, had been parked feet from the high school when it caught fire. Fire officials said that they kept the fire from spreading into the dumpsters and the kitchen, which was open. The vehicle involved was a cleaning vehicle for ventilation and ductwork equipment for the school. And in the closing moments of a nearly 15-hour filibuster, U.S. Senator Chris Murphy announced early this morning that Senate Democrats received a commitment from Republicans to schedule votes and close the terror gap and expand background checks for firearm purchases. Murphy began speaking at 11:21 yesterday morning to delay Senate business on the Departments of Commerce and Justice, Science, and Related Agencies Appropriations Bill until Republicans agreed to hold votes on the 2 measures. Murphy announced the agreement and concluded the filibuster at 2:11 in the morning Thursday, 14 hours and 50 minutes after beginning his speech. And a Stratford woman has been arrested in connection to a series of burglaries that took place in the Daniels Farm area of Trumbull last year. Police say that 57-year-old Tanya Abdur-Rahim, owner of Tanya's Fine Jewelry, was arrested for sixth-degree larceny at her Stratford-based business on Wednesday, June 8th, after officers found an engraved ring that belonged to a Scenic Hill Road resident. According to a report, a Trumbull police detective was investigating a burglary that took place on Scenic Hill Road back in November 2015 when he discovered Abdur-Rahim's role in a burglary pawn ring that stole thousands of dollars in jewelry, checks, and other items from homes across Fairfield County. Police said the local gold dealer was working with Shelton resident 48-year-old Kevin Lesko, who was previously arrested for larceny in the first degree, burglary, and conspiracy to commit larceny on November 10th. Lesko was taken into custody after Trumbull detectives obtained an arrest warrant that stemmed from a number of burglaries in the Daniels Farm Road area of town during the month of October. Lesko, a convicted felon with an extensive criminal history dating back to 1991, was detained on a $100,000 bond. And Easton Animal Control Officer Kelly Fitch has issued an urgent advisory to residents to license their dogs. That urgency is prompted by the presence of rabies in a raccoon in Easton, which bit a resident's dog recently. Fitch said that we have had several rabies-positive animals in town, one being a rabies-positive raccoon that attacked a dog in his yard. Fortunately, the dog had been vaccinated, she said. It was given a booster shot and quarantined for 45 days at the house. According to Fitch, it can't leave the property unless it has to go to the vet, and she said we've had a couple of others tested within the past year that have come back positive. There's a chance the dog will have to be euthanized if it's not vaccinated. Fitch told the Easton Courier that I would hate to have to tell a kid we have to kill your dog because it didn't get a $20 shot. Several raccoons and some bats have tested positive for rabies, she said. Female raccoons are out during the day foraging for food. It's not abnormal to see them unless they are drooling and frothing at the mouth. June is licensing month for dogs, and licenses can be obtained at the town clerk's office Monday through Friday and online. And to be licensed, dogs have to have a valid rabies certificate. But we are going to switch gears now and throw it over to Rob Adams for a look at the forecast.
All right, Kate, good morning, everyone. We have sprinkles today before 1 this afternoon. Then cloudy and generally becoming mostly sunny with a high near 80 and a light southeast wind becoming out of the south from 5 to 9 in the afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 57. For Friday, partly sunny and 75 for your high. Friday night, partly cloudy, we drop back down to 54 degrees, but the wind really not a problem to speak about. Saturday, sunny and 79. For Saturday night, mostly clear, we're down to 55 again, but sunny and 80 for the dads on Sunday, sunny and 82 for Monday. Tuesday, we've got a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms, high 82, and for Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high near 80. And around the region right now, Georgetown, you're at 72, Milford at 71, Shelton, we're at 72 degrees, Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Rob. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Donald Dang takes a look back on this day in history. Rob has a Nutmeg Sports update, and we have more local news coming up next.
Connecticut is coming back to hometown banking, to a partner that makes small businesses feel big, where community comes first, where you get the know-how only neighbors can deliver, where saving time is important too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well, bank smart, bank local, bank well. With the 24-month Bank Well Smart CD, you can earn 1.35% APY and raise your rate and add to your CD.
Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
You're watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. Nearly 1 million people have watched our live sports, news, and entertainment programming since the network launched in August 2015. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
It's Thursday, June 16th, and you're back on Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I felt like I was opening the show again, but Donna, I'm really throwing it to you to take a look back.
I'm back too on Coffee Break on the HAN Network. Well, Kate, is it the most famous speech ever by a losing candidate? Maybe, but first we're going to start in 1846. The papal conclave elects Giovanni Maria Mastai Ferretti, who takes the name Pope Pius IX. That is the beginning of a 31-year reign, the longest in papal history. During his pontificate, Pius IX convened the First Vatican Council, decreed papal infallibility, also defined the often misunderstood dogma of the Immaculate Conception of Mary, meaning Mary was conceived without original sin. He was also the last pope to rule as the sovereign of the Papal States. 1884, the first purpose-built roller coaster, the Switchback Railway, opens on Coney Island. For 5 cents, you can climb to the top of a tower, board the car, and be pushed off to coast 600 feet to the other tower. The ride went at a whopping 6 miles an hour. At the top of the other tower, the train was switched back to a return track, hence the name. 1944, 14-year-old George Junius Stinney, the youngest person ever executed in the United States in the 20th century, convicted of murdering 2 young girls in a one-day trial, including jury selection and deliberation. His conviction was vacated in 2014 based on the fact that he had been interrogated and held in jail for 80 days without being allowed to see a lawyer or his parents, and that his court-appointed attorney was a county tax commissioner seeking re-election who did not make a single objection or ask a single question of any witness. The judgment noted, though, that Stinney may in fact have committed the crime, but the prosecution and trial were fatally flawed. 1967 we go, the Monterey Pop Festival begins. Generally considered one of the events that marked the beginning of the Summer of Love, Monterey was also the inspiration for Woodstock 2 years later. It marked the first major event performance in the U.S. for Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Janis Joplin, and Otis Redding. By the way, you're looking at none of those. That is Jefferson Airplane. And finally, now we go to 1858 for this.
A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. I do not expect the Union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall, but I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all one thing or all the other. Either the opponents of slavery will arrest the further spread of it and place it where the public mind shall rest in the belief that it is in the course of ultimate extinction, or its advocates will push it forward till it should become alike lawful in all the states, old as well as new, north as well as south.
That, of course, Lincoln's House-divided speech, other than the Gettysburg Address, probably his most well-known. He gave the speech in Springfield, Illinois, after receiving the Republican nomination to challenge Stephen A. Douglas for Senate. Lincoln and the Republicans lost the election of 1858, despite receiving more than half the vote. 2 years later, Lincoln would again challenge Douglas, this time in the presidential election of 1860. That's your look back in history for today, June 16th, and I'm Donna Ling.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, getting back to a little more news today. A Danbury man faces 30 years in prison after he pleaded guilty Wednesday to the 2000 murder of Newtown resident Mark Rebong. According to U.S. District Attorney Deirdre Daly, 37-year-old Alex Garcia fired 2 rounds out of an assault rifle into Rebong's Jeep while he was driving westbound on Interstate 84 near Exit 2 on January 17, 2000. Daly said that Garcia was a member of a gang called the Almighty Latin King and Queen Nation, which was involved in an ongoing dispute with another gang. But Rebong, who was driving to the Danbury Hilton where he worked as a night auditor, was not a gang member. He was found with a gunshot wound to the back of his head and died at Danbury Hospital the next day. According to Daly, this defendant brutally and senselessly murdered Mark Rebong, mistaking him for someone else. Mark was a complete innocent, gunned down while driving to work, which makes his death all the more tragic. Garcia, who was charged last October, faced life in prison, but his sentence is limited now because of a plea bargain. All right, going to throw it back over to Rob Adams for a Nutmeg Sports Update.
All right, Kate, let's dive into it. From American Legion Baseball in the 19 under division last night, Fairfield and Greenwich wound up with the night off. They were scheduled to play. That game got canceled, but Wilton beat Bridgeport 4-2 as Wilton improves to 4-2. In the 17 under division, it was Stamford all over Darien New Canaan 10-0. Wilton topped Bridgeport 17-1, and Greenwich did beat Fairfield in 17U baseball 3-2. Now on their schedule today and tonight, Westport and Norwalk are at City Hall. Trumbull and Ridgefield play at the old high school in Ridgefield. Wilton and Bridgeport are at Seaside Park. From the 17 under division, it's Fairfield and Greenwich at Greenwich High School once again. Darien and New Canaan play versus Stamford at Cubetta Stadium. They have a combined team, a co-op, and Bridgeport plays Wilton at Wilton High School. That is a doubleheader. From the NECBL, the Danbury Westerners used 3-run innings in the 3rd and 6th to run and hide from the Vermont Mountaineers 8-2 at Rogers Park. Will John, a product of South Salem, New York, threw 7 innings of 2-hit ball to get the win. Leadoff hitter Frank Maldonado powered the Westerners' attack with a home run, double, and 2 runs batted in. He also scored twice. Nano Santarelli from Lower Westchester County, New York, also homered and drove in 2. The Westerners are 2-4 on the year and play at division-leading Ocean State tonight. Kwan-Jen Chen scored on a wild pitch by Joseph Kuzia in the 6th inning to lead the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs to a 4-3 win over the Bridgeport Bluefish last night in Waldorf, Maryland. Wellington Dotel and Jonathan Galvez homered for the Fish, who dropped to 21-31, 9 games in back of Somerset in the Liberty Division. They conclude their 3-game set tonight. The Reading Fightin' Phils got a 10th inning home run from Jesmail Valentin to beat the Hartford Yard Goats 5-4 in Pennsylvania last night. Of course, due to the problems with Dunkin' Donuts Park, last night's game was a home one for the Gades at First Energy Stadium in Baseball Town, also known as Reading. They continue that series today at 1 o'clock. The Stratford Brakettes play the Connecticut High School All-Stars tonight at DeLuca Field. That is a 6:30 game. And voting for Week 9 of the HAN FCAC Athlete of the Week continues online at HAN.network. So make sure you vote for Week 9. Get those votes going. We will, of course, tell you who won next week on Nutmeg Sports. That's it for sports around these parts. With it all, I'm Rob Adams. Kate, back to you.
Thanks so much, Rob. Getting back to more news today, Darien will be home to Connecticut's newest Shake Shack, now that the burger chain has received the necessary approvals for its 1340 Post Road location. David Genovese of Baywater Properties confirmed that construction would start within the next month once the building permit was obtained, and that the process would take approximately 4 months. With luck, Shake Shack would open its doors this fall. Shake Shack once appeared to be on the brink of withdrawing from its Darien proposal after being denied variances for signage by the Zoning Board of Appeals. Shake Shack originally sought 10 different sign variances, which included letters up to 24 inches tall. The site zone typically only allows a maximum of 10 inches for sign lettering, but neighboring businesses have been granted variances based on their specific needs. The Darien Zoning Board of Appeals claimed that Shake Shack did not provide enough proof of hardship requiring larger signs in the original application, but in the follow-up, the developers included testimony from sign expert Richard Crawford, who recommended letters of approximately 27 inches based on passing traffic and the restaurant's location. And the State Department of Transportation will hear from Milford and Stratford residents today at a hearing to get input on the planned changes to Exit 33 on Interstate 95. The DOT will host the hearing tonight at 7 p.m. at the Baldwin Center in Stratford. Residents, commuters, and business owners are encouraged to visit to discuss the proposed project. An open forum on the project will begin at 6:30. The current Exit 33 is a partial diamond interchange consisting of a southbound I-95 entrance ramp and a northbound exit ramp. The new configuration, according to state DOT officials, would be a full diamond interchange with the proposed southbound off-ramp connecting with Veterans Boulevard on the north side of I-95. But you can get more information on that plan at milfordmirror.com. And this year marks 100 years since architect Cass Gilbert made a gift of the fountain at the intersection of Main Street and West Lane in Ridgefield. At the time, dozens of prominent citizens welcomed it with a letter of sincere, appreciative thanks. A Ridgefield Press editorial back then commended Gilbert's public spiritedness, but the town fathers of the day ignored its existence. But on this Saturday, June 18th at 4 p.m. in Keeler Tavern Museum's Garden House, that will come to an end when First Selectman Rudy Marconi will recognize Gilbert's generosity with a formal acceptance on behalf of the community, which is invited to attend. At the 100th anniversary ceremony, a local Gilbert scholar will piece some of the mysteries that shroud the fountain's eventful and checkered history, including the donor's mixed motives, its unceremonious appearance in 1916, not 1915 as many sources have it, the origin of its marble, which is Vermont, not Italy as some speculate, and whether Gilbert's creation, the victim of decades of unprovoked assaults by errant drivers, suffers under a century-old curse. But you can get more information on that at theridgefieldpress.com. And finally, it's high school graduation season, as you can see here in this video from New Canaan Advertiser reporter Rich Durazo. New Canaan High School celebrated its class of 2016 as the graduation ceremony was held Wednesday at Dunning Field. The class of 281 graduates heard speeches from commencement speaker Mr. Robert Stevenson, a teacher for 11 years at the school, Principal Bill Egan, and First Selectman Rob Malazzi, as well as student moments of reflection from Griffin Hall, Meredith Lucas, Josh Clapper, and Kate McMahon. You can see photos from the New Canaan ceremony at ncadvertiser.com. And for coverage on your local high school's graduation, you can check your HAN Network community news site. But we are going to step out for a break, and when we come back, John Kovach is going to join me, and we're going to take a look at the front pages of our newspapers this week, coming up after this.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. The construction is incredible, whether it's the floors, the fireplace, the moldings, the lighting. It's as peaceful as my home was in the middle of the woods. It feels like a house. It does not feel like a condo or a townhome. I feel like I'm in my house.
Mosquitoes, ticks, gone. Guaranteed. That's what Mosquito Squad guarantees as America's most trusted mosquito and tick control company. Locally owned and operated, over 90,000 homes have been protected by Mosquito Squad using their dual protection method for season-long protection, which includes barrier spray service for eliminating mosquitoes and adult ticks, as well as supplemental programs to increase tick control. They use only USDA organic options, which are safe and non-toxic. Contact them today at www.squadctny.com or 203-893-4309. Mosquito Squad. No bugs, no bites, no kidding.
Alberto Londano Professional Painting, Wallpapering, and Carpentry has been serving Fairfield County for over 20 years. Based in Norwalk, Alberto takes pride in his work by offering you only the best quality service and products. Call Alberto today to get a free estimate and be one step closer to a new and exciting home makeover. 203-866-9635.
When it comes to local entertainment, we've got it all.
From movies, local artists, etiquette, and more.
Watch HAN Arts and Leisure every Thursday at 2 on the HAN Network.
I'm Denise DiGregoli, the host of The Drive on the HAN Network. Join me Tuesdays for some motivational, intelligent talk with a little humor as we visit with people who live their lives mindfully. Tune in to The Drive live on Tuesdays, 12:30, here on the HAN Network.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
We're back on this Thursday edition of Your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, joined now by Editorial Director John Kovach to look at the front pages of our HAN Network community newspapers this week. John, you have the Stratford Star in front of you.
Do I get extra for doing this twice?
Yeah, I know. You joined me on CT Pulse yesterday, but that was fun.
That was fun. It was
Lots
like
to
the
talk
old
about.
days, like behind the news.
It was.
Lots of graduations.
Yes.
Lots of graduations this time of year, obviously, but also plenty of election news in the Stratford Star, where they've now set the date for the council special elections. That October 3rd, because they cannot couple it to the national presidential election without setting up separate rooms for it. So we're going to have 2 election days in Stratford, October 13th, and then the November presidential election. Also, 2 candidates who hoped to force primaries failed to get enough signatures. Some very cool pictures. This is a great idea in Stratford. These aren't pictures from graduation per se. These are the walkthrough where they take the senior class and they walk through their elementary schools. Did you do that?
No, we did not do that. I went to Bunnell and I'd never heard of that before.
Nor did I when I worked in
sweet.
Stratford, but we have a story on that. Very cool. And also a Circle of Love. Melvin Mason was at the town council meeting Monday night and happened upon this observance in honor of the mass shooting in Orlando. Very cool story there.
All right, well, I'm taking a look at the front page of the Trumbull Times. St. Joe's class of 2016 graduating. Trumbull High's graduation was last night, so of course photos and a story will be in next week's Trumbull Times. Also some plans being unveiled for Trumbull Center on the town side of things and ways they want to increase some pedestrian traffic, improve that area. It's a lot of empty storefronts right now, and it's something I know that bothers a lot of Trumbull citizens. And also Library Director Sue Horton is retiring. She's leaving, and she talks about some of her favorite memories, which I imagine is not that painting debacle that happened in my tenure at the Trumbull Times. That's probably one of her least favorite.
I was having the internal debate about bringing that up to you, but thanks for solving that for me.
And another story that we talked about on Coffee Break, the sudden death of a Trumbull police dog, Cyrus. There was some video I know we showed on Coffee Break of the procession and everyone saluting Cyrus. Just a great police dog, and I know everyone's sad to lose him.
Always sad, always sad. In Weston, graduation was held on Monday night, so they are already out in the real world getting ready for that next step. The Police Commission getting ready for its next step as they have approved renovation of headquarters there. A task force is going to address Zika virus dangers in Weston and Westport. They are working together on that, and parents are protesting the dismissal of a security guard at Hurlbut Elementary School. All that in the Weston Forum.
Interesting. All right, well, I'm taking a look at the front page of the Shelton Herald. Of course, Shelton High's graduation was last week, and there's some great coverage on there, so many different angles of it, including that Shelton quadruplets graduated from Shelton High. Very interesting story there. And of course, one of the big stories recently is the Conklin family receiving a diploma for their son, Eddie. And P&Z, Planning and Zoning in Shelton, opposing a plan for Long Hill condominiums.
Joel Barlow High School graduated, so that is in our Easton Courier on the front page, along with the setting of a mill rate at 30.8 mils. But the big news, an EMT from Milford charged with first-degree larceny from Easton Emergency Medical Services. Also, and this is a cool story that's in the, well, it's cool, but it's kind of ones that grips at you, about this hundreds-year-old farm that's been in the same family that now there's an uncertain future. And that was a very good read in the, that is in the Easton
Really
Courier.
interesting story. That story is also on the front page of the Monroe Courier, which I'm looking at right now. But the biggest story this week in Monroe, volunteer firefighter dying in a motorcycle crash. He had been a volunteer firefighter, Forrest Ryan, since 2009 and just well loved throughout the community, and a big loss there. But of course, Massac High School, class of 2016 graduating. And then Monroe looking towards the future with an aging population and a trend toward people leaving Connecticut. They're looking towards 2025.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all?
In Reading, again, Joel Barlow graduation making the front page there. Some beautiful pictures there. Meanwhile, in elementary school, students at Reading Elementary did a fundraiser for those affected by recent earthquake in Ecuador. Little note here for motorists, and 2 major roads in Reading are closed and will remain so through August. That's Poverty Hollow at its intersection with Stepney Road and Route 53 at its intersection with Umpelwald Road. Those are completely closed to traffic.
That sounds like it'll be fun all summer. All right. Well, taking a look at the front page of the Wilton Bulletin, just an amazing photo by Brian Hafele. He always does a great job, but this is from Georgetown Day, and it's actually Lucy Schultz of Wilton, who is the daughter of the Darien Times editor, we should say. But it's a really great picture. I love that so much. Another news story is there's housing stock swells in Wilton. There's a lot of homes on the market there. And a very cool exhibit at Ware Farm. As you can see, a painted buffalo is one of a herd of 7 life-size bison in residence through October at Ware Farm. That looks really neat. So
I like that. I want to go see that.
Very cool.
I want to go see that. In Lewisboro, just over the border in Westchester, the town board has rejected a group home proposal and a victory lap for Relay for Life, which is seasonal, and they tend to be happening this time of year.
Right.
Lewisboro also looking at school busing options with an eye toward next September. Let's not talk about that right now. Let's stick with the summer. Can we do that for a little bit?
Yes, we can.
Just for a little bit?
Well, I'm taking a look at the front page of the Milford Mirror. Jill Dion doing a great job. She covered both the Jonathan Law High School and Foreign High School graduations with some photos and stories there. So lots of happy graduates. And a synagogue in Milford celebrating a 90-year anniversary, as well as a Milford church holding a vigil following the mass shootings in Orlando.
New Canaan could see a new complex with apartments and condos, 120 units. That on the front page of the New Canaan Advertiser. Those would replace the Merritt Apartments. They're not far from St. Aloysius Church, right really on the edge of downtown New Canaan. Also, we'll look at the real estate market and our for sale signs, good or bad for the market. And New Canaan runs into this. I know we did when I was there. Graduation was Wednesday night, so in the pre-web days, it was just a mad rush to get something. And Dave Stewart rushed up and got a photo of preparation. That teasing, there'll be more coverage in the Advertiser's print edition next week, but you can go online to all of our newspapers and see coverage right away.
Yes. All right, we'll take a look at the front page of the Ridgefield Press. An incredible Flag Day photo by Thomas Nash. I really just love that lead photo. It's
Very cool
absolutely
shot.
stunning. As well as some news there that the Boys and Girls Club might take over the barn, which is a teen center that the town has kind of run for a long time with some volunteers and a very small budget. But it looks like the Boys and Girls Club is considering taking that over. The town is retesting school water, and Route 35 backup starts. More coming. But some good news, graduation is Friday, tomorrow, for Ridgefield High School, and the carnival and fireworks are next week. So that's good news.
I love that Flag Day picture.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Darien, a story that you brought us on Coffee Break already, and that Shake Shack moving forward, which I'm sure is making people. Oh, and this is the edible 6-pack rings, which I saw something on one of those online about how it was a way to avoid them clogging the environment. I really want to read that
and hurting
story.
animals. I always do try to remember to pull those apart and break them, but
all
sometimes you forget.
And the Hindley principal, who is retiring, is looking forward. And the valedictorian for Darien, they've got our graduation coming up, sets her sights on the future. What's in arts and leisure?
Well, let's take a look. A starlit evening will open Caramore's 71st anniversary performance. And look, you can honor Dad with a healthy celebration, courtesy of the Conscious Cook. And some more great stuff. And of course, HAN Arts and Leisure, the show, will be at 2 o'clock today, John. But before that, we have Yankee Fisherman at 1 o'clock.
An update on the South Park project in Easton, which is right along the Mill River, a very important brook trout stream. Sacred Heart University now has re-entered the fray with a proposal for a natatorium there. We also have a visit to a fish ladder in Greenwich, which helps migrating fish. And we're looking at Father's Day and how you can get kids interested in fishing and angling and conservation. We met with the head of Trout Unlimited's Headwaters program up at the Northeast Regional over the weekend. Got a very cool interview with him. That's all at 1 o'clock.
All right, great. All right, well, we're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break, but we'll see you tomorrow at 11. As we said, still a lot coming up. Yankee Fisherman at 1 o'clock, HAN Arts and Leisure at 2. I'll see you tomorrow.